Hello, this is Neil from iPaintGirls.com, and this tutorial is going to be about the basics of graffiti. If you're not happy with this particular subject matter, please don't complain. Just leave a comment saying what you would like to see. Request a tutorial. I'm doing this by request, so as you do request, I do tutorials based on that often. Right, so let's get started with the basics. First, I just want to show some samples here I've done. This here says Joker, if you can't read it. And as I designed this piece, I thought about the base shape of the letters I'm going to use, which is pretty much my own alphabet style. But I fit it into this quirky, like a lot of spirals style, which was inspired by Nightmare Before Christmas. And so I designed the letters to fit into that style. I'm going to go ahead and close that for now. Here's another one I did with pen and ink with just what are those, Sharpies, and the photo came out blurry, so I apologize for that. But that one says angels if you can't read it. And the same thing, I had my base alphabet here that I used, but I fit it into more of this style here, which is really my alphabet style, but I used some linking techniques to get the letters like from A to go to the G over here, crossing over the N and stuff like that. Right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is develop an alphabet, and this might take you a while to work on because you want it to be your own style. Now, it's not like doing an alphabet is something that you have to start with. The reason why I recommend starting with an alphabet is just for you to get the feel of your letters and how they're going to look and that sort of thing. So the first thing I want to start with is what's the base shape of your letter. Maybe the base shape of your letter for an A is something like this, right? Once you have the base shape of your letter, once you have the base shape of your letter, then it's a matter of drawing bars to connect everything together, and then caps. So think about it this way. Think about it as you have bars, like so, and you got to think about how those bars are going to connect, like that. And let's say you have a bar here, and I don't know if you want it to be like that or if you want it to come to a point. Depends what your style is. And then caps would be, you know, the things you add onto the ends of letters like this. Something like that. So that's the basic idea. So what I do then when I was designing my alphabet is first I drew the basic shape of the letter. So for an example, just so you can see what I'm talking about, with my A, I drew the basic shape of kind of what I was looking for, which was something, I had it kind of swooping up and swooping down like this. This alphabet has a lot of like curves in it and stuff, even with the K's and everything. And then I knew I wanted that to kind of come around. From this point, it's just a matter of adding my own type of cap. So I would first add my bars, and my bars would be like this. So that right there gave me the base shape for my character. Actually, that would be up there. Something like that. Once I had this done, then I decide, how I start deciding what I want, sharp edges or soft edges for some of the stuff. In this case, I wanted this hard edge. And then I, start tweaking the letters. So once you kind of have a base shape, it's about adding the caps. And I wanted these kind of weird caps added for my style here. This kind of weird, quirky style. Maybe kind of like the maybe the Joker style was still kind of there with me. Like when I was designing this alphabet, I was kind of still inspired by Nightmare Before Christmas, I think. Right, then I want to kind of bring this down thicker, I decided, and I kind of want to come up. So I do a lot of this right here, and I don't worry about like erasing and stuff like that right away. I just worry about how is it going to look, and then I can come in and go, okay, now I need to get rid of that line, so it kind of comes like that. I need to get rid of this line here, and maybe that line that way, or this line this way, which is how I had it before. And I get a kind of idea of what my letter looks like. And when I have that basic rough in, then I come in with the pen. I would turn this layer down so I can see what I'm doing, and I would come in and fix it up, get the right color. And when you're doing ink, whether it's in Photoshop with the Cintiq or tablet, or with the Sharpie, it's important that your lines be smooth. Like you take one quick stroke. You can try slow strokes too. It's harder on the computer to get slow strokes looking right though. But typically, if you know exactly where you're going with your stroke, it'll look better. And with the computer, you have, you can take several chances at it until you get it right. Just keep on doing it. If you do need to make a really long line, I recommend, doing it and then going back over that line a little bit more. Try to come right back over it again. But it's really hard to pull that off right. And so I recommend just trying to imagine your work broken down into little segments and just work on those segments the way you want them. And then I have something like that when I'm done. Right, so designing your whole alphabet is really that easy. And that's how you'll get used to drawing letters. So you just have to look at how do different letters look, and are you going to use a small e or are you going to use a capital E? And you got to think about the style of the letters too. What's the style of E you're going to be doing? If you're going to be doing a style like that, then you would draw the bars based on that. And so what you do then, just to give another example, we'll do the E, is you have something like that, let's say for your base shape, and then you draw over that with your bars. So say I know I want a bar here, let's say. I know I kind of want this to kind of come around here. And with curved letters, it's a little different because you have to draw the curves in there. So something like that, let's say, and then you'd come up and then you can have a bar here, however you want that to look. Or actually, this would be more a cap, not a bar, excuse me. And I kind of just want that little shape there. I kind of want to bring that up more, let's say. And I don't know if I don't have to follow that same thing. I could, make it more like this, let's say, instead. So it'd go more like that. And then you'd erase what you don't need, just for you can kind of see it better to see if you like what you did with it. And then you can go back in and go over it with pen if you wanted to. So something like that. And then if I decided I didn't like that look, I can always change it. Don't be afraid to experiment, when you're coming up with your own style. And so the reason why I recommend doing the alphabet is just for you to come up with your own style, and that's it. There's really no other reason to do an alphabet except to come up with your own style of how you're going to write. And doing alphabet helps come up with that style, I think, rather than just trying to do pieces. So after you're comfortable with coming up with letters and doing the bar system, and another hard one that people have trouble with is S. You can do all kinds of weird stuff with S. You can just start with some weird base shape, and then from there, it's just about drawing the other shapes on top of that. So kind of do for these kinds of letters, you just kind of follow the thing but make them thicker, obviously, and then from there you decide how is everything else going to look, and is it going to have a cap on it, like this, and maybe over here like that. And you just start deciding that kind of stuff. So don't be afraid to get inspiration too from other people that other graph artists that have already developed a cool S or whatever, and you want to kind of just build on that. You can, and something like that. That S didn't really come out all that cool. I don't really like it, so I wouldn't use it. But just showing a quick example how to do it. And if you start with a let's say a more wild shape like this, you could turn that into a letter. Let's say I kind of just want it to be really funky, and it really has to fit into the style of what it is you're trying to achieve. So keep that in mind as well. Right, so that's kind of funky. It all just depends on the piece you're doing too, but you want to develop some sort of style with your letters first and then incorporate that into pieces. Okay, so what about when you want to do a piece then? You want to like link letters together. So when I did that A, I had the angels, right? I did that A I had, and first you work with spacing. So you just want to kind of draw the letters in for you have spacing, you have your spacing right. And make sure you space them, a decent ways apart, because when you begin to add, the actual bars to your letters, that takes up more space, and that's when it starts coming and linking together. Then you want to think how your letters are going to link together. What how is the A going to link to the N to the G and this sort of thing. You want to think about that sort of stuff. Like maybe, for example, you can have the N and G linking together like right here, so it comes together as one piece like that, and then it kind of links together like so. And I'm not doing like any like real letters or anything right here, just showing how you can link together like that. Then before, when you have a G and A close together, you can probably link together these parts right here, that part of the A. You can also have this part of the A come into that part of the N, and you can link all that together. I'm not doing a real N here, I'm just kind of showing how you can link stuff together. So notice how the A goes into N into the G, and this piece comes over to that piece. Go ahead and make my erase a little bit smaller here. Pow. So different things like that you want to think about as you're linking letters together. It's really hard to like give exact rules to it, but the basic rules of symmetry and stuff apply. So there are a couple different things that work together. One is parallelism. So parallelism is when you have lines that run throughout your piece that are parallel. And then you have parallelism that's also, you can follow parallelism on curves, and you can have that parallelism kind of continue to follow a line curve. So the parallels, and you can also have parallelism, imagine like a target, but the only parts you're drawing that are parallel in your drawing are like so. Then you have opposites, which are over here. So these and these are opposites, and that works. So examples of opposite that look cool, H like that, or that what's that symbol, Pisces symbol. And so that works, and it looks cool because that symbol looks cool to us because of that opposite right there. Opposite. There's also opposite C's like this, and there's also this way. And this is like this line kind of makes an S with this line. And so opposite C's is a very common thing in artwork, and it's probably why things like legs and stuff look sexy to us, because with a pair of legs, if let's say I had one leg here, a kneecap, and then the calf down there, you have this opposite C work going on both sides of the leg. But typically we only push one side when we're drawing, and the other side we kind of don't really focus on so much, and that way that aesthetic there. And so there's always a strong angle when legs really capture your eye, like from a side view or something. It's because those opposite C's are working in that particular view that you're looking at. So keep in mind when you're doing your piece, the opposite C's, the parallel line structure, and you can work that on a line, like where it all comes together and flows around like that. Opposite lines where you can have here and over here. It can either be concave or convex, so you can have opposite lines like this as well. But notice it's that parallelism. This is the same as this, but it's reversed on the other side of the image. So I just want to show you some examples of where I implemented this while I was drawing the Joker graph piece here. So when I'm drawing this R here, things I kept in mind with parallelism is I have that line there, and it kind of runs down like this. So then I have this line here, that line there, 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 and it kind of makes this spiral. Spirals are also another thing that our eyes are attracted to, like this, like the snail. It just looks cool to us for some reason, and so you want to capitalize on the things that just naturally look cool to us. I'm going to go ahead and close out the alphabet. So looking at the whole piece here, there are some opposites too. Notice I have this curve here, and I have something similar down here, but I also have kind of an opposite over here. So these are kind of like opposites. They're not quite the same, but still it's kind of cool. I could have worked out something totally opposite to this down on this side, but instead I went with it here. But it's kind of the same. I could have went something almost exactly like that, like taken the R and made it into something like that, opposite of that, and that would have looked cool too. You'll see that throughout the piece I really focus on opposites and parallels, and opposite C's if I can. Like if you have, I'll show you an opposite C in this if you can't see it. It comes here, and then it comes here like that. So it's kind of almost like the leg, or you can think about it here and then here. So it's almost like it's, or here and here. That's more, see that right there is aesthetically pleasing. You notice I did the E a certain way because I could have slanted the E a different way. The reason why I slanted it this way is for all these lines work together, like kind of parallelism. I could have even slanted it more so that line was more shaped like that, so it follows that parallelism more, but it's pretty close, and then that kind of follows and follows and follows and follows and follows all those curves there. So when you're linking words together, think about parallelism and how lines will line up. The best way probably will be for me to do a real-time sketch of something, of a graph piece, so you can see, and I'll talk about it as I'm doing it. But I don't know if there's really a request for that. So this might be the last graph tutorial I do, unless I get more requests for it. Thank you for watching. If you want me to do something else, please leave a comment and request something. I appreciate it.